When she left school, which was at 15, she'd done what was called scholarship, which brought her out the other end as a stenographer. So she could type, bookkeep, take dictation, shorthand, etc. So she worked for a company that sold Aga cookers. Now, from what I gathered, they are an old school gas cooker.
Charcoal.
Yeah, fuel burning.
Like heat beams.
Anyway, Mum was the office girl. So this particular day, the sales, it was lunchtime, and the salesmen were off at lunch, and somebody walked into the showroom looking to buy an Aga cooker. So Mum stepped up and sold it to them. And that was sort of her first taste of selling, and I think it gave her a bit of a buzz. But unbeknownst to her, the manager had been in his office and overheard the whole sort of scenario. So he then gave her, I think, little bites of, opportunities to sell. And I think that created the ambition, I'm sure the ambition was there, but it created that sort of buzz for her to continue and the rewards that went with it. Our dad had actually worked for a General Motors company before. He was the general manager of Henderson for Holden, and he was approached by Ford, and he and the mum obviously decided that it was worth taking the risk. So he sort of kept going where he was at because he needed the income. And of course, when the world found out about it, including Jack Henderson, it wasn't very happy.
No.
So Dad set up in the valley with a caravan as an office and a couple of used cars.
Yep.
Until Byrne Ford at Chermside itself was built, was all going. But those early days, I can remember saying to Dad, because it was always rah, 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 we were Holden all the way, had to be Holden. And I can remember saying to Dad, but we don't like Fords. And he said, well, you better start.
Chermside was the initial dealership. I was at the Myer Centre at Chermside. And then we needed an outlet on the main highway because of visibility and position. And that expanded quite quickly, and we had all the gun salesmen that we employed from around Brisbane that had a reputation. So there was one particular guy, I think you remember him, Alan Fitzgerald. He was on enormous amounts of money for that era, but he was this super salesman. And we were selling hundreds of cars a month out of those car yards.
Dad had not been well, and he had cancer, and the doctors all said, if you're clear for 2 years, you'll be fine. And we sort of hit that 2-year date, and then he wasn't fine. There was a 12-month supposed things, that's how long you've got, but it wasn't 12, it was 6 months. But that was when they really sprang into action. I don't think there was any real mourning time. I think Mum threw herself right in.
We had offers to buy the dealership out when my father passed away, and in today's money it was huge amounts. But we as a family and my mother said, no, we're going to continue this legacy on.
Mm. She had not only the experience, she had the support, she certainly had the team around her. I think that was a real quality of Mum's, was to gather the right people around her, to treat them well, and in return they respected her and did a great job. And I think she brought in bonuses, KPIs, which didn't exist in those days, but that sort of incentive for people, and plus she was approachable. And I know she got down there every morning into the service department and she knew all the mechanics by name.
It was a family. Like, unlike a lot of other businesses, you go into it, no one really cares. Everybody cared. But everybody chipped in. Like, there was a job to be done, and it was just motor cars floating away. All the cars were written off because they'd been underwater. Ford stood by us through those difficult times, and all the staff members, I would suggest everybody turned up. There was cars, I was there was cars floating everywhere. It was really the first time I saw my mother break down. We didn't hire people to come in. The staff all came in, yeah. And my mother, she was there.
Well, I sort of had a multi-layered relationship with Betty, really, a sort of public one and a private one. I first knew her as a very successful businesswoman around town. Quite rare in those days when I first knew her. There weren't many women at the top of businesses like she was. And then I became friends with her, so I got to know her as a human being, as a person, as a very warm and very supportive friend. She just got on with it. She led by example. And I suppose her real work was the research that she did into women's health. She identified women's needs and she just put all her energy and indeed her money into that. She was of a very practical mind, and perhaps this is to do with the automotive industry. I mean, she supported something like the mammogram because that was a very obvious and practical way of identifying breast cancer in women.
She was dubbed an auntie with the traditional owners, and it's a bit like Kerry Packer putting defibrillators in ambulances. She said, well, you got the flying doctor, which was heavily used in those days because the roads weren't that great. And I know that she set up in these communities a lot of these different initiatives.
The travelling mammogram that went out to all the Indigenous communities. It was a vehicle that housed the right people, the nurses or whoever did it, with a mammogram machine, if that's what it's called. And it travelled through Queensland into rural areas and Indigenous settlements, communities.
She was an amazing woman in so many ways and helped so many people. Like, if you dug deep, there would be several hundred, if not thousands of people she had something to do with helping them.
Yeah. The number of people who I've spoken with since she passed away who just said she was a force of nature. Tenacious, ambitious, very positive. She was always very positive. There was a way to get things done, and if she couldn't go the straight road, she'd go around it. She'd find a way to get it done. And very generous.
I think the amount of other things she was involved with through her philanthropy and giving of her time and boards that she sat on outside of Byrne Ford gave us absolute respect amongst the industry.
Betty was a real pioneer in the true sense of the word. I mean, she went where people hadn't been before, particularly where women hadn't been before. I can't think of any other women in her day who were leading in the way that she did in business. She was Queensland of the Year one year. She was a Queensland Great. There was an organisation of Women of the World. She was a member of the Order of Australia.
At her funeral, I said to myself, no, I should be happy that she's moved on because she had a great life. So yeah, she's inspirational, I think, especially for us, but also women and opening, breaking the glass ceiling, as they call it.
Mum's a damn hard act to follow as a daughter. Very proud of her achievements, very proud of her tenacious guts to just do and keep doing. You know, she's remarkable. She's remarkable. Irreplaceable.
For sure. Never say no. She would just keep on keeping on. She'll be a figure, you know, her photo or her image will, you know, every day you have a chuckle or a fond memory of the great things she did.